based on the safety nets, which is the Ombudsman's office. I did see something in the media pertaining to that, but I didn't see anything pertaining to civil service being reestablished. You know, I understand both of those are mandated offices, and being an employee with Hurley Hospital, you know, that's something that's needed based on when we can't resolve issues union-wise, we turn to civil service. And I don't think those offices should have never been taken away, because the Ombudsman office is for the whole city, and the civil services is for the workers. And so we need those particular offices reopened. And I understand there's a waiting period that's taking place right now, and you know, I'm just hoping that we just move on that real quick, just in case there's any changes. Then we can have those open, and they may be considered to stay open if there's any changes and things don't go in our favor. I got a feeling that they will go in our favor, but we have to continue to fight be ready to fight on all levels, you know, especially you don't know who the governor got in his pocket in terms of the Board of Appeals, you know. And so we got to be ready on a federal level, you know, to fight it in federal court, you know, so we can maintain this government in Flint, you know. You know, those was my particular concerns. You know, I won't be long. I know you only got 5 minutes, but you know, I just want to really see that happens, because I had issues at work, and I had to turn to civil service. And during the Don Wilson era, they didn't have a president, and so we had to wait. Finally, everything got established all over again, and I hate to see that being taken away from the workers, as well as the Ombudsman office, when people have problems when they can't get resolved in the community. So thank you all for your time. I thank everybody who came out. You know, hopefully, I don't know when the next meeting is going to be held for the other city council meeting.
We are, until we receive the written order from the circuit court, we are not in a position of power and authority to make any do any official business and to you know, approve any resolutions or you know, things that we can do officially for the city. But the way I understand it is that in her order, and when we receive that order, we should get more clarity about it, but in her order, she had dissolved everything that the emergency manager has decided on, he has approved, you know, whether it's resolutions or dismissal of appointments of individuals in departments. So that would be reinstated back, and so the appeal process can move on. But when we receive that written order, and if it is written as such as actually I've heard her state on TV, then those individuals that were you know, released will be back into their positions.
Okay, that's great.
And let me say this, not for all positions, because some positions are under the authority of the mayor. So, but I believe those charter positions, you know, will be those positions that will be reestablished.
Now, what about in terms of I don't know who's still on board with civil service. Are those individuals still intact? You know, I know Lloyd Mays is a representative for Hurley, but the other the presidents and all that, so are they still on board?
Yeah, what will happen is this, is once the order is signed by the judge, the city charter will be then made whole. All charter mandated departments, such as the Civil Service Commission, as well as the Ombudsman's office, will return as a chartered mandated departments. And those departments, I can't speak for each one of those departments, but I believe those departments will start operating as they had been before the executive order from then Emergency Manager Mike Brown. All people that was on the Civil Service Commission, the representative from Hurley Hospital, Lloyd Mays, is still sitting there. Those individuals are still elected by the Hurley employees, and that person is still your representative for Hurley Hospital. And I believe Clyde Edwards is the representative for the City of Flint workers. I believe the chairperson now is Danette Johnson. And she's a member at large, and you still have a 7-member body. And so those departments are charter mandated. They can only be removed from the charter by referendum of the people, and so they will be made whole, and those departments will return upon the signature of the judge.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Have a good evening.
Next, Eric Mays.
Yeah, my name is Eric Mays, 2824 Mackin Road. I had attended that hearing, and I'm glad that you guys decided to meet anyway. I've been talking to people, and I understand what's going on, in my opinion, in the city. The 5-minute rule for something like this, I hope you kind of throw it out of the window if you get a dialogue with people, because there's some very intelligent people in this room. And some of them took time to go where no councilman went. And it took time to get there. Some of them have done research that no council person or mayor have done. And it looked like they've done research legally that Peter Bade, in his absence, have not done. I rise today and come to this meeting to say that the victory that Sam Muma took on as the plaintiff, in my opinion, Sam Muma seen the people south of us in Highland Park do that litigation. Sam Muma and Larry Warwick copied the type of litigation with their lawyers what had been successful in Highland Park. The only reason I know about Highland Park is because I read a document that John Conyers' staff had issued after I had heard Claire McClinton and Stand Up for Democracy and others who followed this issue while we ran for mayor. I was in the mayor's campaign, and they was following this issue. Gene Adams, Claire McClinton, Stand Up for Democracy, Bernadette Jefferson, and they've gathered a ton of information that I know our leaders don't have. The leaders should be getting that information. They should be requesting the document from John Conyers' office. The media should be publishing the details of the document from John Conyers' office. Not only do it talk about the open meetings type of legal victories, but it also talks about federal victories, possible victories, and how this could go on for weeks and months back and forth in the courts as it relates to the Voting Rights Act, contract clauses, federally protected stuff. This stuff right now is state protected, and Naira was right. She put the Open Meetings Act parallel somewhat to the Constitution as it relates to the rights of the people. So the rights of the people got the emergency manager out of here. I'm gonna give you an analogy. When we argued about open meetings back in your committee room with you and your colleagues, and we said that you have to give notice, attendance, and input. This council voted a majority in that back room not to let us have input. I can remember the chairs of those meetings, Councilman Sargentson, when you chaired legislative, you didn't care what some of them said. You let me speak. When Jackie Poplar and BB and them chaired their meetings, they said, no, the public can't speak in that meeting. What we found out in court was that was a violation of the Open Meetings Act because of notice, attendance, and public input. This body that voted not to fight in court has also been guilty of what Mike Brown and the review team has been guilty of. No public input. That's the crust of it. So I can applaud the three of y'all for being here. Mr. Lawler, you are an impressive number here with these two gentlemen. These were the only two gentlemen that voted. I've told you over and over, when we look at your legislative record, you are legislators, we must look at your vote. We must hold you accountable for your vote. Two people voted to fight. Now the people who voted no, who are not here. See, it's a division on this council, and that's part of our problem. They all should have been here. If they had been in court, they would believe like me. They would believe that they're in power. I've watched this thing close enough. I don't have to wait for Peter Bade or no other lawyer to tell me, based on what happened in Highland Park, what then happened in Detroit, and what's happening here in Flint, city council and the mayor is in power. It's like King of England, them fighting for their throne, and the king is saying, because the governor and other people did something wrong, I don't know if I'm in power. A true fighter holds their throne, takes action, and wait to see who win or lose. We're in England, man. Where are they at? Where are our leaders? I'm gonna tell you where they're at. It's just ironic that the same leaders, Walling, indulge me, Walling and the no votes, not to fight in court, are absent. That's what we know this community leadership to be. Mr. Lawler, if you're changing to the fight because you were a no vote, then congratulations, we're up to 3. You are on the right side of the people because this legal victory was for the people. They fought it for the people. That's why I'm asking you to indulge me. Let me just be a little prophetic right now. They're gonna hold a review meeting, and it's gonna be open. And these same 40 or 50 people who have been studying this issue, I guarantee you half or more of these same handful of people who have gathered knowledge legally and politically on this issue will be in the review open meeting. And we'll have input, and we'll speak intelligently, and then because we have our own strategies on how to wake the rest of the missing leaders up, and I'm gonna refer to the ones not here today as missing leaders. I don't wanna overstep my situation and blow the strategy that these people have put in place, that I am now a part of, because my theory is this. You gotta have people in elected positions, you gotta have people in the legal community, and you gotta have people politically moving, and when you do all of that at the same time, you will have continued success. I would urge you to look at Peter Bade and your legal counsel. He was wrong when he allowed unlawful transfers from the water and sewer fund and the street fund. He blew it legally. He was wrong when he advised the mayor not to go to court. He hadn't did his research on open meetings, Voting Rights Act, or contract clauses. He probably don't care. He's been wrong. One victory down, he was wrong. Now guess what? That was in his advice to the mayor, but he's also the legal advisor to the council. I don't know why he couldn't convince you, Sargentson and Neely, but when he convinced the rest of them legally not to fight it, he was wrong. When he convinced Josh and them how to set up their rules in committee meeting in violation of the Open Meetings Act, he was wrong. Let me share this with you. What we learned in court was that if you continue to do that in that back room, just like the review team, and we file in circuit court in Genesee County, within 60 days is the statute of limitations on these violations. If we file within 60 days, every resolution, all the money y'all spent in that meeting will be null and void, just as the null and void of the actions of Mike Brown and the review team. That's how serious this is. That's the knowledge we've gained. 60-day statute of limitation from the date of the violation. Well, in this case, the minutes were never published from the review team. The statute of limitations ain't told, it's still rolling. I understand why the order ain't signed. Let me share this with you and the media. In Michigan courts, if you don't have the order prepared when the judge said from the bench and present it and say, may I approach, can you assign it that day? It falls up under what's called the 7-day rule. Peter Bates should be here telling y'all what the 7-day rule is. The 7-day rule in the state of Michigan says this. You know, I've been in enough trouble civilly and criminally. I got to be a lawyer. Hey, look, the 7-day rule says this. It's a due process thing. We say what the order is out of our mouth. They couldn't have had it drew up before they got there, so she ordered the plaintiff's attorney or asked him to draw up the order. Once he draws it up and it wasn't signed right there, he have to give it to the other side. And they have to look at it and make sure it's right and object or stipulate, and then it go to the judge. It's the 7-day rule. It's not called a 6-day rule. The question is, will it be signed if the hearing was Monday or Tuesday? Some people say it was Tuesday. When was the hearing? So that means 7 days under the 7-day rule, if such a rule exists. I say it do. Monday we might get here, and if these legal people don't get y'all to understand that y'all fighting like kings of England and that you're in power, they won't have a meeting Monday. My point is this. Our leaders ain't getting it. They ain't legally astute. They got a bad attorney, and he must go. I'm here to tell you this. Once you hear what these people got to say as people sign slips and get up, you do right. Don't act like you know. I don't know. I have to ask Claire and them, what do Conyers and them things say? Once you read it, you know. So let's have that type of meeting. When I sit down, and I appreciate the extra 5 minutes, if it's something you want to know, if it's something we want to talk about, ain't but 40 of us here. Show them that this is a victory for the people. Loosen up on the rules because they violate us, and give us credit for having sense to help you legally, economically, and politically. And that's what we'll do. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. I just need to say, you know, on the record, I mean, you know, before the people, not really on the record, but before the people here in our discussion, our dialogue, I want to make sure the facts are known. And you mentioned me, you know, per se, in your dialogue, and the fact that I did not vote for the appeal back in December, for the filing the appeal with the court, with the circuit court, regarding the EM. That is a fact. And the reason I didn't, I stated on the record then, and I'm stating it now, the reason I did not vote to agree with filing for the appeal is because the facts that was presented about our finances were facts that were true about the condition of our finances. And the misappropriation of funds, and you know, we had the investigation going on at that time. You know, that information, you know, was true. And so based on those facts, I did not see a reason to file the appeal. Now, on February the 15th, there was a ruling by Circuit Court Judge Collette in Ingham County on February 15th, stating that the state of Michigan violated the Open Meetings Act and that Highland Park review team's decisions are appealed. They were appealed. So that decision was made after the fact. Now, the union here, Union President Sam Muma, filed the injunction based on those facts. Now, I would agree, as a council member myself, I failed in that area in not filing that myself or having some discussions with other members of this council. Even though we were not in position of authority and power, that I missed that. And I take the blame for myself with that. But nevertheless, you know, I feel the same pain that you feel about the conditions of the city. And the dictatorship, I never did agree with that. I did sign the petition to repeal the law. I did get other signatures for the petition to repeal the law. I do believe that the law is an injustice to our community and other communities like us. And I do have the documents, Mr. Mays. I do have all the documents. I have Mr. Conyers' documents. I have the Open Public Meetings Act's documents. I have the letter that Mr. Conyers sent to the governor, and I have the facts about all of the cities that this emergency manager have been appointed to. And the fact is, in each of those cities, the population of individuals in the city, the African Americans, are the larger populations for each of those cities, which make 50% of the state. 50% of the state. And so I'm well in tune of what is going on. And but you know, I have to agree, I did miss that with the filing the appeal. But nevertheless, I believe all of this is God-driven, because there was an injustice to our people. There was an injustice to this city, and I'm in tune with my Lord and Savior. I'm in tune with God. I was in tune with God even back then, Mr. Mays, but I just allow me, you know, to have my convictions and what I believe I can do at that time. And we didn't have the facts to file an appeal back in December. So you know, so I appreciate, you know, you coming forth and saying that, this is good dialogue. I'm writing, you know, as you're speaking, and I'm creating my agenda, and I'm sure my colleagues are creating their agendas as we move forward. Thank you.
And we now are joined by our colleague from the 3rd Ward, Councilman Nolden, who had a class project.
Yeah, I had a class project this evening. I'm working on my master's degree at the University of Michigan, so my class project was at 5 o'clock. So that's why I wasn't here at 5:30. But I'm here to listen to your concerns. I understand your concerns. They are some of the same concerns that I know my colleagues have already expressed. And I'm just here to listen, and then I'll comment when appropriate. Thank you.
And could I say we up to 4, and I believe we can keep him out, keep the city, and we can do it. So I'm glad we up to 4. We might pull this off in Flint.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. Thank you. And it is good to see Councilman Nolden to join us. And so the next speaker is Robert Johnson.
Hello, gentlemen. Last time I spoke, I missed the meeting, this prior meeting that you guys all had. My wife's been sick and in the hospital, so I'm under the weather for it. However, I spoke with you, and I'm unprepared. I didn't bring the impound stuff. I didn't know you guys are doing this, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So, anyway, when I spoke about the impound, and that was an injustice to our city, and the impound, you know, was taken away from us, and all the money generated, you know, so on and so forth. I was cut off. And if you go back and review the tapes that the gentleman made, you'll see that the time limit in which they allowed, they cut me off because of Jackie Poplar interfering in my speech, in which, if you notice, every time I do any speeches, Jackie Poplar always interferes in my speeches. I can't help it that Jackie Poplar likes to break the law. I can't help it that Jackie Poplar likes to do things in which is wrong, and she happened to be one of the people in which accepted $1,700 from the person in which ended up with the impound. I was not allowed to finish my speech about the impound, and therefore I would like to apologize to Mr. Neely, because I did not get to tell the crowd that Mr. Neely was one of the few that stood up and has always stood up for the people of Flint, no matter what the issue is. I have always respected you, and because they cut me off, I wasn't allowed to finish telling. I didn't get to tell about Mr. Walling also accepting $1,700 over top of the campaign finance rules of $500 from one individual. It's all in the report in which the ombudsman did, in which I have the copies. However, when I asked Mr. Bade about this, Mr. Bade seems to think that it's no big deal. It's okay to break the law. Mr. Bade also told me that everything that was in the ombudsman's office was dumped in the trash. And I hope some of it can be recovered. I hope, you know, some of the stuff, well, no, there was records made. There's copies made elsewhere. It's just people don't know. I see you shaking your head, Mr. Sargentson.
What I'm shaking my head is, I don't think Brenda would do that.
Would do what?
Brenda Purifoy, the ombudsman, I just don't see her doing anything like that. She is for the people also, and
Doing what? You're confusing me here.
He said she threw the ombudsman.
No, they fired her.
Oh, okay.
Then they went into the
Yeah, okay.
office and they destroyed all the records. According to Mr. Bade,
Okay.
all that stuff was No, Brenda
My
would never
understanding
do
was
that.
Miss Purifoy did that, and
No.
Okay,
Mr.
thank you.
Bade.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Go.
Yeah, no, Mr. Bade said that all the complaints in which was filed at the time, when they closed the office, after the office was closed, then all that stuff was trashed. However, I'm almost positive that there's an electronic record of most of it, if not all. But my purpose here this afternoon, my wife, I got to go up and see her, and I'm leaving. But I wanted to apologize because I didn't get to finish, and it did seem, when I watched the tape on there, it did seem like I was targeting you, and I was not targeting you, and you have always helped me with everything I needed. So, and by the way, the stuff that I bought at the pharmacy, it does work. So, if you know what I mean. So, thank you very much. I'm leaving, but I wanted to apologize because I didn't get to finish, and it did seem, when I watched the tape on there, it did seem like I was targeting you, and I was not targeting you, and you have always helped me with everything I needed. So, and by the way, the stuff that I bought at the pharmacy, it does work. So, if you know what I mean. So, Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
I'm out of here.
Thank you.
I do thank you for that, but I do want to enlighten the audience to the city of Flint did hold an auction at the impound lot, which we use complete towing for the impound lot. They did hold the auction. It hadn't been held for some time, but they generated $102,000. Of that $102,000 to date, $5,000 would go to the auctioneer, $20,000 would come to the city of Flint, and the remaining $75,000 will go to complete towing until we receive other invoices from complete towing to figure out how much of that $20,000 will come actually be revenue for the city of Flint residents to use for city services. But I was happy to see the auction, but I do believe, and I am a proponent of bringing that impound lot back into city operation. I think we can generate a lot of revenue to support